Welcome to the Open Apple Podcast, where we celebrate the Apple II. Whether you're a longtime user, a nostalgic visitor, or a newcomer to the community, join us as we share news and memories of Steve Wozniak's most famous personal computer.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Hello World, the wrap-up podcast for INIT Hello. I'm Kat. I was the chair of INIT Hello, and I'm just going to let everybody go around and introduce themselves, starting, I don't know, somebody start.
Paul, go first.
I'll start. I'm Paul Hackstrom. I helped organize it, and I'm in Boston, and I don't know, what else do I need to say? I think we'll plug our stuff at the end, so I'll talk about that later. I will pass it on to Blake.
Okay. Hello, I am Blake Patterson, aka Blake Spot. I'm in the DC area, Northern Virginia, and I am. This was actually my first in-person Apple II conference, surprisingly, and it was great. So good to be here, and yep, I like Apple IIs. I will pass it on to Megan.
Hello, I'm Megan Lemmert in Appleton, Wisconsin. I was at INIT Hello. It was a wonderful time, and I look forward to going back in future years. Charles, go ahead.
Yes, hello. I am Charles Mangan, aka Option 8, and if you are on the chat, my YouTube name apparently is 1 megahertz 6502. I am also here. And here's Ken.
Hi, and here's Ken. My name is Ken Gagne, originally from Leominster, Massachusetts, currently today in Anchorage, Alaska. And I know we're going to plug all our stuff, but the reason that we are all here, of all those who attended INIT Hello, is because we are all podcasters. We all have shows that we do separately, and this is sort of that giant MCU crossover event where we all appear at once.
So INIT Hello happened. INIT Hello happened. It was an amazing time. And like we don't really have a big plan for this podcast, but we just all wanted to get together and talk. So I want to start with I'm gonna pick on Blake because you said this is your first Apple II event. So what were you expecting, and and how did that compare to what you found?
Actually, it was a great time, and I didn't. I've done some virtual attendance since the before times ended with COVID and everything. But this was the first in person, and I thought it was great. I guess the setting for one was quite a ideal locale, I would say, with so many incredible big iron mainframes, supercomputers, and every sort of micro I think one could hope to see. It was shockingly impressive. The System Source Computer Museum just north of Baltimore. That really blew me away. In fact, this aside from the rotating exhibits that I've seen over the past 20 years or 30 years at the Smithsonian American History Museum had different levels of vintage computing displays, sometimes much larger than others. This is also the first computer museum I've been in, so it's going to be hard to top this one, I think. And talking to people about, I know many people have seen many other computer museums in the United States and elsewhere, and I think this was in their assessment near the top. So can't believe I'd never heard of it. It was in my backyard, basically. I'll be definitely checking out some of the things offered throughout the year at that location. But anyway, enough about the venue. Yeah, it was great getting together with the all the people that I've seen and become acquainted with online. There were a lot of new people that I had not before met. I recall, walking in, the first thing that I encountered after grabbing my badge was the vendor buy and swap room, and that definitely set a tone for, okay, we're here with people that are bringing their old machines, and it was certainly all around us. So that was a really nice experience. And throughout the show, I think there were several talks, the sessions, which were interesting to listen to, and showed me new things. I was really liked the area, sort of the workshopping area, with the enormous table that was back there throughout the whole event, morning to presumably the end. People were, repairing other people's computers, testing things out, showing things off, and that was just great to kind of hang out there and chat with people, and I started just sitting there chatting with someone, booting up a game on the GS, playing it, looking at what someone's doing with soldering, repairing. We saw some mysterious motherboards that even those working on them had little idea, really what the history was behind some of these things. So yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. It was just a nice social situation with the Apple II, which I, having never done this in person, was new to me, because you're not usually in a group of extremely gung-ho Apple II people that have traveled, many hours in their vans full of Apple IIIs and Apple IIs and things like that. So not a common, not an everyday occurrence. But yeah, it was great. It makes me, I'll say, and when I was trying to explain it to my wife, who's, not at all a tech person or, into it, it's interesting. Yeah, the vintage, there's no, although she does get frustrated. She repeatedly says of the modern tools she has to work with, she'd like to go back to WordStar on her 1980s laptop. So she kind of likes the simple. But anyway, explaining to her, I said, and I think it's true, I had a better time than I thought I would. I mean, I knew it would be an interesting time. I thought it would be a little unusual, maybe a little odd. Didn't know how freely everyone, meeting all the new people would, hang out in a happy way. Not happy. Obviously, it's going to be a happy time, but just didn't know how fluid it would be, and it was more so than I thought it would be, and that was nice. And so I look very forward to next year, which seems like certainly is very likely a go, and that'll be, I guess, one of the bigger events of the year for me, because this year such a good time was had. So yeah, it was great.
Cool. Yeah. I want to second the difficulty that we have with explaining to friends and family, what are you doing this weekend? Why are you driving 6 hours? Why are you driving instead of flying? Well, you can't bring 1,000 pounds worth of vintage electronics on a plane. That's interesting.
And another challenge is that none of the Apple II conferences I've been to in North America have names that translate outside our community. So like, you're going to Illinois for an Apple convention, and it's called Kansas Fest, which has nothing to do with either of those things. And now you're going to Hunt Valley, Maryland for a thing called INIT Hello, and it's not even a word. What are you talking about? So, and this is not unique to retro computing events. Like, I go to a video game convention called PAX, P-A-X. How does that translate to video games? Dragon Con. It's about science fiction? Well, okay, that one makes sense. But, yeah, it's...
Although, the thing about Dragon Con, which I love, is that it's named that because of the dragon computer that used to run the BBS. It has nothing to do actually with dragons.
I did not know that.
I didn't really. Are you serious? That's crazy.
For that matter, the magazine. I thought it was Dragon Magazine for the longest time.
Dragon Magazine, yeah, because the D&D magazine, or Dragon because it just keeps sprawling out across Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, I thought it had started as a Dragon Magazine, get together or whatever, because it does have so much to do with, Warhammer and sci-fi and Dungeons and Dragons.
So arbitrary.
And all that.
Yeah.
Arbitrary. I just need to fact check this, Paul. I looked up on Wikipedia, which is the canonical source of truth, and you are right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I've learned that just recently. Probably
Today
from
I
Paul.
learned that
Yeah.
I will never go to Dragon Con because it is entirely too people-y. That's one of the things that I liked about the side is that I like a small event. I feel like did everybody feel like you got to meet and see all the people that were there and see how I would say see everything in the museum, but that's patently impossible.
Yeah, there were definitely some plans for coming back to the museum, and especially, making my way to the museum maybe after hours, in an unsanctioned event, to see what was in all the back rooms. But the guys that were there didn't, the guys that were working there, Ryan and Bloop, they kind of Brendan, yeah, they kind of dissuaded me from doing that. Partly because if one of the big iron, one of those big machines fell on me in the middle of the night, it would probably be a couple of days before anybody found my body. But also, security and, liability and all that. But I am definitely all for a night at the museum, like a sleepover event. If we can get them to bring in some cots and build a pillow fort and that kind of stuff amongst the
that would be kind of fun.
So on one hand, that would be a little bit more akin to the other Apple convention we've been to, where you're staying in the dorms, and the hotels at this event were actually quite good and very local. And there is a convenience in just being able to run up to your dorm room and grab something. But I also liked having somewhere to fully escape to, and that had all the amenities that people of our age are now expecting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was pretty close.
Yeah, it's really a great location. Speaking of conventions, there used to be there's a derelict hotel that's over in, so if you weren't there, System Source Computer Museum is located in a big industrial park. There's the big I think tenant there is the McCormick Spice Company, like all of their corporate offices, their factory, everything's there. But there's a big old one-story or three-story sprawling building that used to be a hotel, and that hotel used to host a convention called Balticon, which has since moved downtown to one of the hotels near the Inner Harbor, which is why I don't go anymore. It's way too expensive. But it was this literary science fiction con. They gave away, I think, the Compton Crook Award every year. Their masquerade was fantastic. The gentleman who ran it back in the day did a fabulous job. And the first time I went to System Source, they do have workshops about once a quarter, and they have swap meets twice a year. The next workshop is the 16th of August. The next swap is he said in November. They haven't picked a date yet, but when I first time I looked at it on Google, and I'm like, I know exactly where this is. And when we were when INIT Hello kind of started getting floated, I'm like, this is a good spot. There's a lot of hotels in the area. There's a lot of food in the area. Everything's really local. There's light rail that goes all the way to the airport. Really, it's just a nice little and it's not inside the Baltimore Beltway, so it's not as expensive as it could be. It's a nice little, spot for a little con. And System Source was just because I was at a workshop when all of this, we started floating this. For anybody who hasn't heard the story, this all started as let's all get a hotel party suite for a weekend.
Yeah, let's talk about the INIT Hello origin story.
The INIT Hello origin story is scope creep of the first magnitude. There were a bunch of people we hadn't seen, and I knew that people were looking for other outlets for their Appleness, and I started poking around and saying, anybody wanna get a party suite? I'll do some calling around here where I live, and deep in the cat cave is in South Central Pennsylvania. About an hour and a half away from System Source. maybe Pittsburgh. I mean, I've done convention planning in the past, so I figured, and then I blinked and we were incorporating, and I was actually running an actual convention with an actual small staff and a web page and all the trappings that go with it. And that's really like the origins. I tell everybody the origin story here is scope creep. But I'm glad it did. I'm glad, Paul, I was only half joking at the show when I called him my my Alexander Hamilton, my right-hand man. I am a theater person. We're never far from a Hamilton reference.
And that worked out pretty well for him in the end, right?
For Hamilton, yeah.
I mean, I don't know who I'm not sure who Aaron Burr is in this scenario. Like, that makes me George Washington, which makes me very uncomfortable. And I'm not sure who Aaron Burr is in this.
Watch your back, Paul. Watch your back.
Yeah. And I'm feeling bad ever since I totally derailed Ken's discussion of like the naming, but maybe we could sort of like circle back a little bit to that.
Yeah. Circle back to that. INIT Hello, and we were struggling for a name because we all were trying to tiptoe around the fact that we didn't want to use Apple at all. My first thought was Untitled Apple II Convention, and then
we actually even had a logo.
We had a logo for that at some point,
like the Untitled Goose Game.
But somebody in the Discord rightfully pointed out that there are 3 sets of lawyers you don't mess with: Nintendo, Disney, and Apple. And I don't remember who came. Does anybody remember who actually came up with the name? It was not me.
It was Jeremy.
Was it Jeremy? Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
Jeremy ran. INIT Hello is in DOS 3.3. That's the command you use to initialize a disk. And then hello is the program that runs. And I was like, yeah, that works.
Well, and I think it's really cool because it speaks to the right people. Like people who know the Apple II are going to have encountered this, and people who don't know the Apple II aren't going to know what it is, and whatever. so, but I think it sort of communicates like this is for you to those people who understand it.
Yeah, very much so, I felt.
And then it snowballed.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned the locale, and I'll say I'll back up what Ken said. I thought there were a couple of hotel options. I thought they were rather reasonably priced, and they were nice. The amenities, everything was there. Everything was close by. Everything was super close. The light rail, you mentioned, Kat, the light rail actually went to the airport. I didn't realize that because the light rail was interestingly integrated among the roads in a way I hadn't seen in a town before. You were always getting ding, ding, and then the like without expecting it, as you turn a corner, the little arm goes down, and here comes a light rail train across the road for 5 seconds, and then you're back driving. So, but that makes it much more accessible. I was driving because I'm about the same distance as you are, I think, Kat, being down in Northern Virginia, an hour and a half or so from the location. But for the flyers, I don't know, that makes it a lot more accessible. I did not realize that. I think, and also I thought it was pretty quick. We broke into little groups, as one does, to go to dinner here and there, and they were really close by places. It was very convenient, I thought. And as I said in the start, the venue, I don't think you could pick really a better actual site than System Source for something like this.
I am curious what percentage of attendees flew?
I don't know that we have that. I can think of about 5 or 6 off the top of my head, but
I think there's more than that. I'm guessing there had to be more.
Maybe we do need to send out a wrap-up questionnaire. Maybe we could add that, just because now I'm curious. We can add that to our. How did you drive or fly to INIT Hello? How did you find the ability to find the place, or something like that?
Because I think maybe Paul would know this better. I think I heard that more than 70% of Kansas Fest 2024 attendees drove to Springfield, and less than 30% flew. Sounds like a similar breakdown for INIT Hello.
Yeah.
So no matter where you are in the country, it's still a regional event.
Well, and I mean, we had, I don't know if I should name check him, but, someone drove all the way out from California. Only just recently got home.
Yes, I got home. Yay!
But,
I know almost half of the people that were there. It was the statistic I do remember that kind of knocked me over was about half of them. It was their first in-person Apple II event, and it was just like, wow, like there are so many people out there who haven't had this experience of being. My sister, when I go to these workshops, my sister jokingly calls, only half jokingly because she's right, she's like, oh, you're going to go hang out with your peer group. I'm like, yeah, actually this is our peer group.
At the end it was asked, like how many people is this your first thing, and it seemed like, yeah, you're right, like half the people raised their hands. And so that's one thing that's kind of nice about this in a way, is that it's relatively easy for people on the East Coast at least to get there, and it doesn't occupy a huge amount of time, and so I think it did bring in a lot of people who hadn't been to such a thing before.
So it was gratifying as an organizer to see that so many people got to have their first taste of the camaraderie that we find in the retro computing hobby through this little tiny event.
Mm-hmm. I think it's nice that many conferences like this, I guess this is small relative compared to Awesome Con or Dragon Con or something like that. Obviously, it goes without saying,
or even like the VCF events. Some of those are pretty massive.
Those are huge. Midwest is enormous.
Yeah, and they're still. I mean, they're not Apple II centric, but they are retro Apple or retro computing, vintage computing conferences. And I think of that as like, that's like the Comic-Con versus your local anime cosplay get together, and this was much more that size.
Okay, yeah, where I was headed with that is I think some of the larger ones, and just by nature of their not being computer museums everywhere, I think even some of the smaller ones, the locations are more, okay, here's a place with some space. We'll do it here, hotel ballroom, or there's the benefit with some of the others with like the dorm setting. Of course, you're right there with your built-in location, but there's not something inherently computery about a lot of these locations. And I guess for me, the wow factor was so big about the museum that I go back here. I keep underscoring that it seems particularly nice that it was set in such a relevant place. Although, I don't have live feet on the ground comparison experience with other Apple II conferences, but it seems like that was a big thrill for many of the people that were there for the first time. In talking to them, people were kind of agog about that. And I'll stop talking about how awesome the museum was, but it was a big part. It was a big part of what hit me. So
after the person who drove from California, probably the second farthest drive was Megan. So I want to ask Megan, was it worth the drive? Was the juice worth the squeeze?
Yes, absolutely. And I was actually just going to say, I thought the immersion of the location at the System Source Museum was fantastic. And it was especially really great having Bob Roswell, the owner of the museum or curator of the museum, on hand to give the tours. And along with, if I recall, it broke up into groups for like different specialty tours. I ended up going along with his group, and I just thought, wow, it's clear he's done this spiel before. I mean, because he really delivered a fantastic presentation of the various different exhibits. Was great with questions, and I really think that was one of the highlights of the whole experience, even though a lot of the contents of the museum was not strictly Apple II, related. Thinking more broadly from a retro perspective, I mean, it was just wonderful immersion for the whole event. And as far as was the trip worth it, Ken? Circling back to that specifically for other reasons, absolutely yes. I saw people, as I imagine we all did, that I hadn't seen in 6 years. literally 6 years since 2019 before the COVID pandemic. So it was fantastic for that reason. It was well organized. Thank you, Kat, Paul, and the other doers of stuff. The presentations were very enjoyable. I really enjoyed the keynote from Lane Nooney about their book about Apple II history, and just what a unique perspective their research took on that, really digging deep and looking at, okay, well, how were people perceiving this at this time? What were the advertisers doing? What were the magazines doing? I really look forward to what they're going to be coming out with on Sierra Online. So, I mean, that was just a fantastic keynote. And then, other speakers as well. Obviously, there was a limited amount of time for the number of speakers in a 2-day event, but it was great to have a couple of other presentations. And one of the other ones was just like totally spot on for me when Sean Gugler gave his presentation on tracking down bugs in Ultima 4. And
yeah, that's great.
Apparently he fixed them all. That was really incredible. And I talked to him afterwards, after his presentation, about a bug that I found back in the 80s playing, the game, and which was not on the list that he mentioned. So we had a wonderful time talking about that particular glitch. I had a little video on my phone that I showed him because I had made a screen capture of it a while back. It has to do with a chest with unlimited gold that you can open over and over and over again. If you set up certain conditions, you can get into a place that isn't supposed to exist in the game where you find it. And that was a new one to him. And we ended up having a lively discussion over whether or not it was truly a bug or a design limitation that was known and accepted by the developers. I mean, just the kind of discussion that can only happen at an Apple II conference with other people who share the same passion that you do. It was really incredible.
And well enough that if you have a bug that you just can't fix, you call it an Easter egg, and the people that pointed out to you are like, "Oh, you found the Easter egg. Congratulations! It's not a bug anymore."
Yeah, exactly. So,
Killing Lord British with a cow. Anyone?
Talking about the Nox Archaeus bug.
Yeah, I'm talking about Nox Archaeus and the cow, the Lord British cow thing.
It turns him into a cow, so he becomes Lord Cowbrish and loses interest in the battle at that point and mostly eats grass.
Easter egg.
Easter egg.
Exactly.
I deliberately did not fix it in the Lord of Storms expansion that we released a couple of years later because I thought, no, this is way too fun to fix. And Richard Garriott enjoyed it too. I sent him some screenshots and video clips on it. He thought it was awesome. So, and his first question was, when I told him he had accidentally been turned into a cow, his response was, "Did I get better?"
Excellent.
So you're going to get Sean to help you out with Dragon Smear on bug hunting?
Yeah, well, we didn't talk about that specifically, but I certainly would welcome his assistance in that. He definitely has a lot of talent for what he's doing with the work that he did there on Ultima 4. So I'm sure we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, I really haven't watched. I need to watch the talks. When you run the show, you don't get to go to the show. And that's maybe my one regret for the weekend, is that because I was so busy checking on things and, getting catering taken care of and updating social media, that I'm looking forward now to, laying on my couch and watching the talks that were at the thing that I ran. But from what I hear, everything was really, really awesome. Yeah.
Jason Scott was there and not only, it captured it all, captured all the presentations on video and streamed it on Twitch. And then Kay Savitz took those videos and already has made them available. So there's a playlist on YouTube that has the presentations, at least not the workshops and stuff like that, but the actual presentations.
Very nice. I was going to say, Kat, the analogy here is that it's like when you get married, the wedding is, it's a celebration and everything, but the bride and groom or the couple doesn't really get to enjoy things much because they're so busy greeting people and making sure that everybody else is happy. It's really for it's really for everybody else. You're putting on a party for everybody else. I mentioned that to somebody when they were complaining about something, and they said, "Oh, I've heard the same thing, but it's when they're talking about a funeral." So you're the center of attention, but you don't get to participate.
Right.
So I didn't want to put it quite that way.
No, I actually said that to a couple people because, the big question I get asked about INIT Hello, besides what is it and why are you doing it? And, didn't you swear you were never going to do this again? Yes, because in my misspent, late 20s, early 30s, I was very active in the anime convention scene in Pittsburgh and in the DC, Northern Virginia area. And I actually ran I ran the Pittsburgh convention for years 4 and 5. And that was, we're talking 3, 4, 5,000 people. So I people were, that's how I knew how to get everything going so quickly. And 2, having done that, to me, this was really, I said, my sister's wedding was more a wedding is more complicated than this.
Yeah. And I commend you for, you said something about early on, you had, incorporated and registered the website and put together, accommodation plans and food plans and, privacy, code of conduct and things like that. Yes. It's like, well, obviously this was not your first rodeo. So it was very well put together for something that was so quickly put together, and I commend you on that. And as rodeos go, it was very well pulled off. And I don't know if people realize that it was basically in like 3 months, 4 months time, all of this pulled together.
Yeah, I mean, this started.
Yeah, the time frame was really
late
tight.
March, early April. But I mean, I had Paul, I had Melissa Barron, and Dan. I can never say. Crew. I've never seen Crew. Jeremy Rand helped. Eric Rucker helped. We had. Forrest Lowe helped. We had so many people willing to help put this on. Like when this became a thing, I was just floored by how many people were like, "No, we want to help you. No, we want to." And I'm like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" Yes.
Yeah.
Let us help you.
It's easy to say, "Hey, I want to do a thing," and then the peanut gallery weighs in and tells you what they think you should do. But when you're talking about a group of people that when you get more than 3 of them together, there's going to be a soldering station. It just, miraculously happens.
Yeah.
It's like if everybody got together for lunch, there'd be like somebody in the corner soldering, or testing memory or something, just out of, sheer
because that's what we
utility. Do. You get a bunch of very hands-on and, doers or doozers from the Fraggles. They're going to want to help. They're going to want to pick up things and carry them from place to place, even if, they don't know what the thing is or, where they're going with it. This community is definitely a people helping people group. And that's definitely, Blake, you were saying this is the first time that you've done, an in-person gathering of the tribes or whatever, at least with Apple II stuff. And that's, I get that sense for any, large enough retro or, vintage computing gathering. But my experience is with the Apple II folks, and they're almost universally, they see something where you're struggling and they'll help you. It's like, even if it's some, a language they don't know yet, or a machine they've never seen before. Mostly because, at least I do, because I'm curious, what the heck is that? What are you doing? And can I help? Can I look over your shoulder while you're doing it? So that's definitely that's one of the things that I got out of going back to an in-person event for the first time. Megan, I think I didn't realize that it was like, wow, it has been 6 years since I've like physically been in the room with a lot of these people. It definitely recharged my batteries, and I drove back with Mark Pilgrim 4 a.m. and in the car we were talking about projects and things that we saw and things that that he had dug up from archiving disks, because again, he sits down in a room and people will just gravitate towards him with floppy disks. He's got projects that he's working on that were inspired or kicked off that weekend, and as do I. I've got stuff that I'm like, okay, I want to present this next year. I want to make this project a thing that I talk about for INIT Hello. What do we say? S2, D2?
Comma D2.
Yeah.
I guess that's the correct verbiage for I want to format drive 2.
Yeah.
I was
told. Could be
volume
2.
Or volume 2. Yeah. Well, it's going to be something with formatting the second disk drive, and then we'll figure it out from there later. That's future me.
I think there's a limit.
I know there's a limit. There has to be a limit. DOS 3.3 wasn't that robust.
4 drives, if I recall. 4 drives. So what we do year number 5, I mean, that's going to be the big thing. It's like
that'll be the big.
I think he can do better than that. I think Tony had set up. Actually, Ivan might have set up like a 12 drive system for time zone. But I mean, if you fill all the slots with disk 2 cards, you can get whatever that is, at least 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
I guess that's.
I guess eventually we might have to switch to ProDOS, larger volumes. But
INIT Hello Smart Port. Smart Port Edition. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
This is like a 2-digit date problem, and we're just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing, but that's fine.
One thing that I will point out is that the naming, however it was arrived at, there is no name collision with some other convention or like random K-pop band or right. Breakfast cereal or anything like that. So if you Google INIT Hello, you will find this conference.
Yes.
Or you will find instructions for Apple II formatting a disk, formatting a disk in DOS. They are all 1 degree of separation from the current conversation, as opposed to some other we need a name coming up with a pharmaceutical name that doesn't reference something else, and paying consultants and all that. Just Google INIT Hello and we'll find out. You'll find us.
For what it's worth, the top Google search results for INIT Hello are the INIT Hello conference website, the INIT Hello Facebook page, the a2central.com news post about INIT Hello, and Blake's photos as posted to Reddit.
That's amazing.
How about the Vixen?
Yeah, I'm chasing down a Vixen now. But
the Vixen's right over there.
Yeah, Paul's got one.
Did you take it, Paul? Did you take it out of Blake's hands and run away?
No, mine's a little worse. The System Source Museum has so much cool stuff. But I mean, we're
it's like the sexiest little portable K-Pro and Osborne era CPM machine is the Osborne's last, almost beyond their last machine, the Vixen. Very, very nice form factor. I was enamored of it when I saw it there. But that's funny, Ken. Yeah, nobody. When I mentioned it at work, I work in OIT at a university in DC, and I was mentioning it to the group, like, our big Friday meeting. So what's everyone doing on the weekend? So, I'm going up to a conference, Apple II conference in Hunt Valley, INIT Hello. What? Yeah, there is one Apple II fan and a vintage collector in the 110 person OIT where I work, but he was not on the call. So nobody got it. And then I explained it, and nobody still got it. So it was. Then I showed him pictures, and some were like, "Wow, that's kind of cool." But most people said nothing.
Here,
most people said nothing. Yeah.
I tell people the whole hobby. I when I have to explain what I do as a hobby, I explain it's like working on old cars. We have people like, and that's because my father is a car guy. You know, people have old Mustangs and whatever in their garage, and you work on it and you tinker with it and you soup it up or whatever, or you try to keep it original and you show it, and they have car shows. It's the same exact thing. We have our old computers, and sometimes we keep them stock and sometimes we soup them up and we take them places and show them. And we talk to other people and we trade parts, and it's literally the exact same thing as people who are into antique cars.
Yeah, and in the same way, there's rivalries in air quotes between like the Ford and the Chevy folks.
Oh yeah. My dad was
trading
the Chevy
tips
guy.
with like a little nudge. Yeah, you don't have to do that with an Apple II. Yeah, I know the Ataris have same kind of mindset. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's when people, and that's the best metaphor for the hobby I've ever come up with. And it really, like, I feel like everybody knows at least one person who has an antique car in their garage.
Or at least has heard of it.
Or has heard, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good metaphor. Yeah. So I wonder if they say like "boo Ford" and "boo Chevy" to each other.
Yeah, they actually do. No, I grew up at car shows. I grew up at car shows, and my dad was he had antique Chevys. That's what he showed. That's what he worked on when I was a kid. And I remember when, for our family grocery getter, he bought a Ford Crown Vic because we need a huge car. And his buddies were all giving him a hard time that, you bought a Ford. And it's like, it's the biggest car, minivans I don't think minivans were a thing yet. I think this is right before the minivan was invented. He needed a big car because there were 6 of us. So, and all his buddies are giving him a hard. And this wasn't even his show car. This was the grocery getter, and they were giving a hard time about buying a Ford. So, yes, very much yes.
It's funny. I've heard, and I've probably some of you've seen this, I'm sure, and I've mentioned it to some of you probably before. But that's an awesome parallel. The cars, that works great. Some people look at the obscurity of, these old computers from the 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. The obscurity of that, which I'd say maybe they're a little more obscure than the notion of, repairing cars and getting excited and souping up your old car. There's the video, I'm sure Paul's seen this, of someone's interviewing people that are collecting washing machines. Yeah, they're collecting washing machines, and there's they put together an online community, and like they linked up with email, and there's a listserv, and they found each other, and everyone thought they were alone in this passion. And so I think it was in Maryland, someone was interviewing that had a gathering at the leader of this group, and he had like 50 or 40 washing machines in his basement. They'd all sit around and look at the washing, the different techniques, the rhythm action and the pumping and then the front loading and everything. And there was much excitement and you could feel it. And then someone, not myself, pointed out, they said, this is what you and me looking at this as retro computing people, this is what our hobby looks like to normal people, us watching the washing machine video people. So perhaps being that much more obscure. And I thought that was a good device to kind of feel out how we seem. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that was on. Oh, okay. Because I saw this on CBS Sunday Morning did a piece on them at one point too.
This is actually a different video, but it's the same people, I'm sure. Yeah. So, and the guy who did the original that I was talking about, just as I fade off of this topic, did a follow-up with collectors of vintage, even pre-electric toasters. Someone had 1,000 toasters. Ah, yes, there it is.
Yeah, this is the one I saw on CBS Sunday Morning.
Yeah, I remember this. I watch this every few months. It's actually, aside from everything I just said, I'm finding it rather pleasant to watch. So maybe I hope I don't end up down that rabbit hole.
Washing machine collector in the future.
Yeah, I'm going to show this to my family when they ask me, don't you have a bunch of computers already? Why do you need to get another one? Okay, I don't have a basement full of washing machines. I don't have them all plumbed up and, wired together so I can, do a load of wash in the 1957 if I'm feeling lucky, or it's like that is I thought arcade machines took up a lot of room, but really all you got to do is plug those in. If you have washing machines in your basement, you've got like 50 of them like this guy apparently. I mean, that's dedication right there.
Yeah. You're not a guy that's intentionally dumping your cup of coffee on your shirt so you've got an excuse to go throw it in one of your washing machines, Yeah.
One of the reasons I decided to specialize on the Apple II mice is because they take up a lot less room than a 2GS or, a fully a complete 2E. Something, I can collect 50 mice and I can put them all in a box and they all fit in the closet.
That is certainly true.
Yeah, but I do remember seeing that long ago. It's sparking memories.
But it certainly was nice to be among the like-minded people, and I look forward to it. It makes me sad that there aren't more. There's some other events that are not too far from my neck of the woods that happen in the year. There's the VCF in Wall, VCF East.
That's a really good show.
It's close. I haven't been yet.
It's
makes
good.
me want to do that more now.
I exhibited last year, and I just went the first 2 years ago. It's a fun show. The cool thing there is they also have a really, really well curated museum on site that your badge gets you into. They have a couple other museums. There's a radio museum on site. It's at the Info Age Science Center. Used to be an Army radio base.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Wall, New Jersey.
In Wall, New Jersey. So yeah, East is a good show. And again, you're not staying on site. You have to, and the hotels aren't anywhere near as close.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
The hotels are not anywhere near as close. The radio, the radio, the base is kind of off all by itself, as Army bases were wont to be. But yeah, no, they have a giant satellite dish. I'm trying to think of things. Last year I did they had people come, something we didn't do because it's not really but something that some of the vintage the VCFs do is they have an exhibit area where people just put up their stuff and stand behind a table. You could walk up and play with their whatever. Like I had my Apple plotter and showing people how to make lines and make circles and so we didn't really have that because we had the museum all around us, but it's a little bit of a different vibe, but it's a nice little show. I'm told VCF Midwest is an absolute party, but that's at a bad time of year for me. I can't. September's not a good time of year. I work in education, so. But I'm told that's the one to go to on this side of the Mississippi is what I'm told. I don't know. I was going to say if anybody in the podcast has been to Midwest and can speak to that.
I was to Midwest once a couple of years ago, and I don't have any other VCFs to compare it to. That's the only one that I've ever been to, but it was interesting. It felt like, how would I describe it? It was, it kind of felt like the System Source Museum, except instead of the stuff being exhibits, it was, the stuff that people were working on. I mean, there was literally somebody that hauled one of those old telephone company switches to the VCF Midwest, like was at the System Source Museum, but this was just like, they just brought it there to play around with it, So I was impressed by the diversity of different retro stuff that was there, all just kind of thrown together in this sort of haphazard retro way that, just kind of is what it should be. Not a lot of Apple II people there, as I recall, though I did run into maybe 3 or 4 faces that I recognized from other Apple II conferences, which was really nice to see. And a lot of Commodore people there. It was actually somebody from the Commodore community that invited me to the event, or suggested that I go, and I met up with him, and he introduced me to a few people in that scene. So yeah, it was a fun day.
It sounds like what we need to do is organize, what do you call it on Twitch? A raid? Where everybody from one channel goes
that's exactly what at the end of your stream you send everybody to bother one of your friends. I
need to organize an Apple II raid on VCF then.
Yeah, that would shake things up a little bit. There you go.
You mentioned that what was the museum, Kat, that the
InfoAge. It's the InfoAge Science and Technology, whatever. What do they call themselves? I think it's the InfoAge Science and Technology Center.
Okay, I was
InfoAge Science and History Museums.
Okay. I'm doing a quick share right now. There's an image I took. I don't think I put it in my gallery. For those watching, there was a radio antenna at System Source of sorts, a Wurzburg Reise World War II era radio antenna. I was briefly scanning through the history, and it was just kind of sitting in the back of the parking lot. But I read a little bit of that World War II history. They have a plaque on it, and kind of interesting. But maybe that's a common thread among computer museums, is at least one radio antenna.
They're co-located. The National Electronics Museum is co-located with System Source, so I think that's part of their collection. I do know there is an amateur radio club that also meets out of, but the part of the museum, there are actually 3 right now. There are actually 3 museums co-located in this building. There's the Bloop Video Game Museum, the National Electronics Museum, and System Source, the computer museum at System Source. Because the other thing to realize is there is an IT company that does like IT training and services running, so there's offices around. This is actually a place of business as well as the museum.
Right.
But the NEM, and I know Bloop has their own space. They're very shortly in the next few weeks, they're moving to Pittsburgh. They have their own space. And I think I was told the National Electronics Museum is also getting their own space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked Bloop had, it was a nice time talking with him on several occasions throughout the weekend. And he had a number of sections. There was, I think, an ARM exhibit, an old, video media exhibit, and then some Japanese micros, among others. Yeah. Right. He was telling me that they're moving, in a short while, moving to Pittsburgh. But he also was saying that there's so much additional hardware in the storage warehouse that we didn't see at System Source, that he was certain that within a very short amount of time the spaces would be refilled with some sort of relevant coherent exhibits, because apparently there's just a great deal of even more hardware that we didn't see. There's probably another Vixen.
I have been in the warehouse because at one of the workshops I was at, I got to go back into the warehouse, and it just shelves and shelves and shelves of labeled crates of.
Wait, so that's right there?
Yeah, their warehouse is right there. Their warehouse is on site.
Okay.
And it's just, there's so much stuff that they have. I cannot wait to see what all they put together out of all of the cool stuff that they have back there.
Paul, I you may have heard the same story, but I was going to say the radar, the pieces of the radar installation that are in the parking lot. I was asking someone at the gathering about that, and they said, "Oh, that's the radar installation from Pearl Harbor."
Oh wow!
Yeah, the story is that's the only the only radar that actually picked up the incoming attack on Pearl Harbor, and that's the actual hardware from it that was surplused by the Navy or whatever, and then collected by It might have been DigiBarn or something
Yeah, 'cause
similar, and it was
DigiBarn-
acquired from DigiBarn, or it was acquired from the Navy, and they just haven't got a place to put it yet. So it's in the parking lot right now.
Yeah, System Source did take possession of DigiBarn at some point.
It was about, what was it? Like, I remember when DigiBarn, I didn't know about System Source. I just heard the news that DigiBarn was dismantling. Was that about 8 years ago? Something like that? Does anyone remember?
I don't. That's
Okay.
I don't know.
I really didn't get into
I
this.
thought it was slightly more
2016 was when I really got into the Apple
Okay.
II scene, as it were.
Okay.
So if it's before 2016, it's before my time.
Yeah.
I think what I thought I understood was that Bruce Damer got freaked out about how close the fire got, and thought like this is no longer a good place for this stuff to be, and so
Yeah, that was in
yes, this is
2020, 2021.
Okay,
Yeah.
I somehow I
Okay.
missed that,
More
but
recent.
I was rather a little preoccupied with some personal life stuff during that time period. So I
Well, and
missed-
that is also, it's also, wildfire country. So
Yes.
if you're going to set up a museum, best to do it in more, let's say geologically stable, but also natural disaster averse area. It
Where were they located?
was in California.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure quite where it was, but it was but I think there was a risk of it getting reached by fire
Okay.
at one point.
Yeah.
They gave their collection to System Source in December of 2021, and they were located in Boulder Creek, California, which is part of Santa Cruz County. So that is just south of the Bay Area.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, I remember when I got into the hobby, DigiBarn was one of the web images and info about that collection was, I frequented that. That was impressive. Still impressive, as it turns out.
But still is being kept in a barn.
Not really. The warehouse is it's all climate controlled and it's
Well, no, it's System Source, but I think DigiBarn was not like that.
DigiBarn
Yeah,
was
right.
a barn.
It was
Yeah.
I remember
barn.
the pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said,
wooden barn.
missed that somehow. But so we're actually coming up on the hour here. So anybody have any last thoughts before we kind of sign off and talking where we can find each other and kind of put this whole thing to bed?
The videos that went up this week, there are 6 of them, and it's hard to correlate that with my experience at INIT Hello because it seemed like such a full weekend that went so quickly, but there were only 6 talks. And on one hand, I don't want there to be more per se because I was never bored. There were so many people to chat with. There was that long potluck Thanksgiving table, as Jason called it, where there was always something going on. Some people didn't go to any of the talks. They just hung out there, which is a totally valid way to experience the event. And I also don't want there to be fewer talks because the talks that there were excellent. The only thing I can think of is like if the event was 3 days but kept the same proportion of talks to non-talks. Right. So I mean, I really liked this event. It was small and intimate. It was about 50 people. As I talked about, it was lower than Dunbar's number. I got to meet people. When I went out to dinner the first night, there were 10 of us there, and I'd never met 6 of them before. And that's after having been an active part of this community for 3 decades. So I thought the event was great. The balance was great. The people were great. I wouldn't want it to be too long because there's already an Apple II conference that does that, and we want to keep that accessibility barrier low. Like David Schmidt attended his first Apple II convention because he said he didn't have to take time off from work. And that's a big deal for a lot of people, and I would think we want to maintain that. But I think there are opportunities to embiggen INIT Hello without compromising it.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, that's something. That's definitely something. We wouldn't go more than one more day. I know I've already kind of made that, and I'm not even That's something. Yeah, would I like to do part of Friday? Yes, but as I said, this is also at the this is also a place of business, so we'll see how that would shake out. But I think you're right, Ken. I like it was small. You got to talk to everybody. You got to see everybody. You got to meet everybody.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to say there are some things that are not represented on that list of presentations. So there were things that were sort of like that, but like there was a 6-line programming contest. There was the Shufflebook tournament. Yeah, which I think, I mean, in a sense, it wasn't really a tournament after all. That was, I mean, if I could just maybe say just a thing about that. I mean, it is amazing that worked at all. I was completely disorganized. I brought Apple IICs because Shufflebook needs a mouse, and it was, and this is able to communicate across like a serial connection. So the IIC is great because it's got everything sort of built in. You don't need to have cards for the communications and whatever, but I failed to bring any mice. So I had these two machines, but I didn't have any mice. And I managed to source a couple of mice that would work with the Apple IIC from among the attendees, but I didn't have a serial connection. So, I managed to, I think, Josh Malone had a couple of ADT Pro, cables. By the way, David Schmidt is the ADT Pro guy, yes, for anyone who didn't make that connection. But David Schmidt did not have those cables, but Josh had a couple of cables, but then, they didn't connect to each other. So then I went up to Sark and I said, do you have an adapter, like a gender changer adapter? But it turned out it had to be a null modem adapter. And he's like, well, no, but I could make one. And I said, well, that would be great. But in 15 minutes, and he soldered a thing together. It got put together, and it worked, and it was amazing. All right down to the last minute. But so it didn't turn out to be a tournament. It was basically just a bunch of people playing the game.
We didn't do any sort of follow-up. A loaves and fishes miracle or a stone soup? Yeah, there's a miracle or a Grimm's fairy tale or a Aesop's fable or something that goes along the lines of, I don't have a serial cable, but you do. I don't have a null modem cable, but those kinds of those kinds of miracles do happen still, and it's good to hear. I mean, it is that sort of like the spirit of like everybody helping, right?
Yeah, that's that hacker spirit that a lot of places just don't have anymore.
Yeah, and it also highlights how I forget, to bring things.
I'm sharing the creation on the screen. If you wanted to share, Paul, I'm sharing you can see the video of.
Oh yeah, that's yes, I saw that. Cable. I'm like, that's a Sark special if ever I saw one.
It's good to have, I think, at least one completely unshielded copper strand, which is excellent.
Right next to the play mouse.
Yeah.
RF shielding.
If you tweak them with your fingers while you're playing, it's like a cheat mode. You can, get your signal faster. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. And speaking of forgetting things, I also came back and discovered that I left a bin of Apple III, motherboards there. So it's possible I'm driving back in a couple weeks. But
Paul, just wait till March. I'll bring it to you.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not that far.
I mean, but this is retro computing. You never need anything fast. If you did, we wouldn't have waited 40 years for it.
Yeah.
Point.
Oh, I was just remarking that Paul leaving the bin of Apple III motherboards there probably just blended right in with the exhibits. So.
Yeah.
They're probably on display right now.
Graciously on loan from the personal collection of Paul Hagstrom.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, hopefully he got a plaque out of it.
Alrighty then.
So, yeah. Anybody else have anything for wrapping up?
I'm going to definitely, I'm curious to see what they replace Bloop's collection with. I'll certainly be up there in the next few months before the next event, and be looking forward to that next official event. But yeah, I could grab your motherboards, Paul. We'll talk
And
about
you
it.
said
I said I
There
could
you go,
grab
do
them
that.
too.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And you said
Yeah.
Loop is moving to a bigger space in
Loop is moving to a bigger space in Pittsburgh.
So not too
I've
far
seen-
away if you're still
yeah,
in
not
the
too far away. I've
Northeast.
seen the pictures of the building. It's going to be really nice. They're just Allegheny County is if you buy a building in Pittsburgh, you have to deal with asbestos, and that's what they're waiting on. Just getting their certification for that kind of management. Ken, you just kind of made a motion like
If you're going to Pittsburgh to see Blue, please be sure to swing by the Large Scale Systems
Yes.
Museum in New Kensington, Pennsylvania. It's less than an hour outside of Pittsburgh, and they have a bigger collection than the Living Computer Museum in Seattle did.
yeah, they're on my list because I was just thinking I lived in Pittsburgh for 9 years. I need to get back there.
So that's the large scale. Is that the where you walk around and you feel like the computers are making you feel smaller and smaller because they're room size? I mean, they're just like what is a large scale computer?
So the Large
Like
Scale
mainframes.
Systems Museum, the website is mact.io. The first floor is exactly what you described, Charles, where everything is huge. It's big iron. But that's the first floor. You go up to the second floor, and that's where all the personal computers are, including like a working Apple II GS with a FujiNet. So it's the best of both worlds.
Are they like 3 or 4x the normal size that makes them fit in with the large scale? That's what I was getting at. Anyhow,
Yeah.
I'm with all of you. Same sentiments as far as looking forward to this next year and hoping that it gets embiggened, but in a comfortable, stays a comfortable scale. Because what was the number that you were referring to, Ken? The number of people you can like actively meet in a day or something like that?
Yeah, Dunbar's number, 150.
Okay. It's like the number of, what is it, like number of people you can call friends or?
It's basically the largest size community that you can maintain in your head.
I see. Okay, so you know all of the people. If
you know all the people and how they relate to each other, basically.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Let's keep it there, and if it gets beyond that, then we can fork it and split the party or whatever. We'll do INIT Hello East Coast and West Coast if we need to. But I'm there for it next year, whatever you decide.
I'll be there as well.
Paul, you want to send us off?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, thanks everyone for coming to wrap up the INIT Hello experience. And I guess now would be a good time we can kind of go around and sort of like plug other places that we can be found. Maybe I will start just because I am talking now. But I do the Retro Computing Roundtable on a irregular schedule, but that's the primary place, the retro place you can find me. Someday I might return to Drop 3 Inches. I think, yeah.
I'm Kat. I host a weekly stream on Twitch, twitch.tv /Lady Aileros, which is
spelled like it sounds.
It's Greek. But I play old games on old machines. I'll be streaming tomorrow. I'm playing through Halo, OG Halo on my Mac Mirror Disk Drive G4. And so come watch me shoot Covenant. I'm gonna pick on Ken.
Hey, I'm Ken Gagne, and I'm the host of A2Central.com, which is a website all about Apple II stuff. It's been around since the year 2000, and all the archives are still there. We've actually shared a plethora of news coming out of both Kansas Fest and INIT Hello in the past couple of weeks, so tune in there to see what you're missing. You can also find me, as far as, the reason I'm here is a podcast. My podcast is with a fellow Apple II user, but it is not about the Apple II. It's Transporter Lock, and that's where we review new episodes of Star Trek. And that's co-hosted currently with M. McGinnis of the Open Apple podcast. You can find that at transporterlock.com, and again, the other website is a2central.com. That's the letter A, the number 2, a2central.com. And I pop it over to Megan.
Hello, I'm Megan Lemmert, lead developer of Nox Arceus. So you can find me on the 6502 Workshop Discord server, and also on the Retro RPG Roundtable, where I'm a co-host. The other co-hosts are also all retro game developers, specifically retro RPG developers like myself. Some of them developing their games or have developed their games on original hardware, like I did, and some doing it on modern platforms with a retro skinning. But that is another place you can check out exciting retro content. And Charles, I believe you are by default.
I am still here, yes. I'm Charles Mangan. I used to be much more active doing stuff and releasing hardware, software, hacks, and various things. I have been a little low on inspiration and energy the last few years, but that has actually changed. So I've already got a few things in the works that I've got some ideas for between hardware, software, and some research projects. So keep an eye out. Not exactly sure where I'll put them. I might just, drop them in Paul's lap and he can talk about them on RCR. But I also, I guess I still haven't posted the last Chicken Missile that was recorded 5 years ago. So technically, we're still in the middle of Chicken Missile, and at some point I will get to the letter Z, and then I'll be finished with it. But until then, I'm on indefinite hiatus for that. And then I think that leaves only Blake to wrap things up for us.
All right, indeed. All right, I'm Blake Patterson, Blake Spot, most places on the net in the social areas. I am a co-host of the RCR podcast, Retro Computing Roundtable podcast, and I run, it's now 21 years running the Byte Seller blog, which this has been a very slow year there, actually, but I have definitely want to write about the show here momentarily, and I have a couple of other things I'm posting this year. I still have my Christmas demo post from December. So, slowest year yet. But anyway, I'll get some more posts up. But I'm also on Blake Spot on Blue Sky, and you can also find me on, I probably am a little more chatty on about the retro on Mastodon, at Blake Spot, at oldbytes.space. And so there you go.
Excellent.
All right. Is that everybody?
I think it is.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for coming and participating and chatting about the event. And hope to see everybody next year at whatever INIT Hello the second edition looks like.
Until then,
looking very, very forward
Until
to
then,
it.
Retro Compute.
This has been the Open Apple Podcast. Find more episodes, read our blog, or send feedback by visiting us on the web at www.open-apple.net.